What's up guys, Dave here with a quick video on Loctite and their uses. There's three different types that we use here with model helicopters and even with RC airplanes. The first type being the most popular, which is blue. The next type, which is not as popular but very important, this red Loctite, which is high strength. And then green. Not many people know about the green Loctite. We'll get into that last. Okay guys, first off we're going to talk about the blue Loctite. It's really worn because I use it the most probably. The container kind of leaks. It was leaking from the rear here. I had to heat it up and melt it. It's enough about the container, but this is blue Loctite and it's most commonly used here. Most uses are with the airframe where you're going into metal on metal. Notice how there's this aluminum cross member in here, and then there's a metal screw, 2.5 millimeter, that screws into that. That's where you're going to use your blue Loctite, and most helis have quite a few of these cross braces that go through and keep the frame stiff, or frame stiffeners. So that's the primary use of this blue Loctite. Some people have even said that they use it on their spindle shaft in their head. I don't do that. I use the red, a very little bit of red. But some people swear by it, say they've never had a problem. Do what you like. I'll use red in my spindle shaft. Okay guys, on to red Loctite. Red Loctite is the strongest, highest strength Loctite you're going to use. It also takes the highest temperature to get it off of parts. Usually once it's on a bolt thick enough, it's really hard to get out. There's a few tricks for getting it out of bolts. I'll do another video with some of the tricks that I've heard and know of to get Loctite off of fasteners. But your red Loctite is primarily used in the head. These bolts here for the yokes, the bolts for the blade grip arms definitely get red. These bolts down here, I usually use blue in these, but some people may argue you want to use red. The Jesus bolt is a nylock nut, so there's no Loctite required there. And the spindle shaft, of course, which is probably the most important set of bolts on the whole heli. You definitely want those to be in red. We're going to talk about this green Loctite. Not many people know about it. Well, to answer your question, it's penetrating grade. And to be honest, I didn't know about this either. I found out about it pretty recently, about what it's used for. And the reason why I found out about it was because I had a bearing slipping in its housing, and you could tell it totally demolished the part it was seated in almost. So what you do is it's called wicking too. People call it wicking Loctite. But what you do is, I don't know if you could see the outer race here where the bearing seats. It's a flange bearing, so it sits up on the backside here on the shoulder, which is the flange. And then your bearing's in there, and then on this outer shoulder is where it gets wicked into the metal. This actual brace it sits in on the tail boom is a tail case. But you wick it into this, and I'll show you how it's done here if you want to see how I wick the Loctite in, which is really helpful. Okay guys, now for my little demonstration on wicking Loctite. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to come around, and what you want to do is just get a little drop on the outside, and if you watch, it's very runny. I shook that really good, but look at it run. It's going right inside that bearing. Have a toothpick ready and standing by, and what you want to do is kind of just help that get around. You don't want this to get into the inner race of the bearing, this area. If it gets in anywhere in between there, it's going to seize up your bearing, and if you're flying a flybarless system, you could pick up some stuff in your flight characteristics. But as you can see, that Loctite went all the way around. There you go. It's pretty impressive how quickly it works. What I typically do is come in there afterwards with a Q-tip after it's set a little bit, and you want to just dab this. And I'm dabbing on the outside. It's almost pulling towards the Q-tip with capillary traction. And you, like I said, you want to be very careful not to get any of that in the inner race of the bearing. what you want to do is probably switch out your Q-tip and then dab the inner part a little bit. And then that's about done. I'll let that set up more and then come in with some alcohol and clean off the top of it a little bit, being careful not to get the alcohol on the Wicking Loctite or the green thread locker. Okay guys, that was my video on the 3 types of Loctite or thread locker that I use most often. This brand is Permatex. Loctite I keep referring to is actually a brand name as well. Most of this stuff can be found at your local like AutoZone, mostly automotive stores. I actually went to, I think it was Home Depot, to find this green Loctite, and when I asked the associate, he had never heard of it, and as we were leaving the store he actually came following and running after us asking me what it's used for. So I hope for anybody that was confused or had any issues with, you know, figuring out what and how to use thread locker, hope this was helpful, and we'll see you next time. Hope you enjoyed. See ya.